want to welcome you here to Doolittle Hall to celebrate the most significant campaign in the Air Force Academy's history, defining our future. I'm Mike Gould, the CEO of the AOG and the Air Force Academy Foundation, and I'm honored to be able to host you here tonight, along with my bride, who is Paula right here. Thank you, Paula, for being here with us. Now, our first speaker tonight has a function so she has to leave here at 5 o'clock. So we're going to ask her to come up real quickly. It's our Dean of Faculty, Brigadier General Linnell Latendra, and I think Linnell is leaving us to go join her class reunion. Good call, we're happy for you. Linnell's been the Dean of Faculty since 2019. She heads up a 750 plus person faculty and the mission element that has 660 graduate courses for 4,200 cadets across 31 academic disciplines. It's a big job, it's a huge job, and we're really pleased to have Linnell here in that job. And one of the projects she wants to talk to you about tonight is the Academy's new telescope, made possible by a fundraising campaign by the foundation. And I want to briefly take this opportunity to thank all the donors, many of whom are here in this room, for having the vision and the generosity to help fund that project, including those who contributed in memory of Captain Alan Cheeseman, class of '66, who died in Southeast Asia in 1970. Linnell, please welcome Linnell Latendra, Dean of Faculty.
Well, thank you all so very much. Before I begin, I'd just like to thank the foundation as well as all of you for your continued support of our Air Force Academy. In addition to myself here tonight, we have some, I also have a former dean, so General Rocky is here this evening, as well as two of our permanent professors, Colonel Kathleen Harrington, as well as Colonel Tara Vienna. And so it takes all of us, and us as a faculty, have committed to where we're moving, where we're going to move this institution with respect to future conflict and to developing, educating, and inspiring warrior scholars. We do that better through a shared partnership, and we couldn't do what we're doing without the support of our many grads, as well as those who are interested in moving this institution forward. And I'm so incredibly thankful. And so tonight, as General Gould indicated, I'm going to talk a little bit more specifically about the telescope, but understand that this new telescope is just one example of the many things that our foundation and our academy community makes possible. And so this telescope, in addition to the folks who donated, and in large part it has been an anonymous gift, I would like to thank Dr. Stacy Williams from AFOSR, who really provided a lot of advocacy for this telescope. And it's through your collective support that we were able to acquire the funding, not just for the telescope, but importantly, the instrumentation. It's hard to run the telescope without that, which includes a high-resolution camera system and spectrograph. This telescope replaced actually 1960s vintage technology. Although I am here celebrating with the class of '60, right? They're here for their reunion as well. The cadets tell me that I'm older than dirt. So I'll just let you think about that particular telescope. It was put into use in 1978 here at the Academy, but it was really time for an upgrade. That was a 0.6 meter telescope. And to give you an example of what our new technology has enabled us to do, just prior to the COVID restrictions shutting us down, Dr. Devin De La Rose and Major Michael Plummer led 4 cadets in the class of '20 to start to leverage. They were physics majors, and they started to take data on this new 1 meter telescope system. And they found a new planet. An Earth-sized planet that's 90 light years away. I would have preferred, thank you, yes. I would have preferred that to be 96 light years away, but I'll give them credit for being close. Going forward, we know that this telescope system is going to enable us to continue to support cadet and faculty space science research, especially with respect to our Falcon telescope network and those partners. It's also going to propel our Center for Space Situational Awareness, which is led by Dr. Francis Chun, and it's going to continue to promote STEM outreach in partnership with our planetarium. I know later this afternoon you're going to hear a little bit more from Lieutenant General Schwedo, who is our current director of the Institute for Future Conflict, and he'll give you an overview of where we're moving institutionally from a research and experiential learning perspective, as well as a curriculum perspective on preparing our cadets for the future fight. But I hope that many of you are able to hop in a bus or a van a little later this afternoon and go see for yourself what happens with the power and the combination of a collaborative effort that enables our cadets and faculty to add something to their repertoire, in this case, a 1-meter telescope that's already enabled us to discover a new planet and to move out on future innovation. It's just one of the many examples. I got an opportunity to talk to both the class of 96, 95, 90, and 60, who are all here for their reunion this weekend. And I shared with them some of the many other examples. We cut a ribbon on the multi-domain lab just last week. There's more to be done there and gift opportunities there as well. We did groundbreaking earlier this fall semester on the Madeira Cyber Innovation Center. And I now look out from my office on not one but 2 outdoor classrooms in a beautiful air gardens. So I would thank you, first and foremost, thank you, sir, for the foundation and what you do to continue to support cadets and faculty. I am so immensely proud of this institution, and I would argue that you should be too. We're doing amazing things, and we'll continue to move forward with the support and community of our Air Force Academy Foundation. With that, I'm off to go celebrate with my classmates, and so I hope you have a wonderful evening.
We are indeed grateful for the Dean to come over and share with us for a little bit. Our program will resume in about 15 minutes, so I'd like to encourage you to go back and enjoy some of the Falcon Club's good hors d'oeuvres there and grab another drink, and we'll be back at 5:15. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. I think everybody's had a chance to grab something to eat or refresh their drinks, and I want to do a few introductions before we continue with the program. And number one on that list, I was waiting to introduce him, our 21st Superintendent, Lieutenant General Rich Clark. And don't bother clapping because General Clark had to leave a few minutes ago, but he made the rounds and was able to say hi to a bunch of you. Also, and we'll introduce him in detail in a minute, but our guest speaker, Lieutenant General Retired B.J. Schwedo, has joined us. Great to have you here. We already had a brief intro of Lieutenant General Retired Irv Rocky, class of 62, and Lieutenant General Jay Kelly. I saw General Kelly back over at the bar. Wouldn't you figure 64 is at the bar? Great to have you, sir. Now, just to continue with the program here, I think you all realize this. It's a very exciting time at the Air Force Academy Foundation and at our AOG. But it's also a time of tremendous challenges across our country right now. Our cadets, the future leaders of our Air Force and our nation's military, face a very complicated future. In fact, today at the reunion briefings, there were a couple questions from graduates about how is the Academy preparing cadets for these new challenges. Cadets are confronted by an increasingly dynamic and interconnected world marked by ever more complex political, economic, and social challenges. So these cadets have to be prepared for unprecedented advancements in technology, artificial intelligence, digital dependency, all the advancements that have increasing national security implications. It's important that cadets understand the powerful and often rapid shifts in culture, international political frameworks, and our environment. and they must be able to respond to new and emerging vulnerabilities to our nation's security while building teams of individuals from increasingly diverse specializations and backgrounds. They must work together to protect our country's interests. So as you can see, these are serious challenges for our nation, but they're challenges that the Air Force Academy can and will meet. This is a defining moment for our Air Force Academy, and the work that we do here in the AOG and the Foundation becomes more important than ever. That's why we've launched Defining Our Future campaign, which you see the logos all around this evening. So with that, and to talk a little bit more about this campaign, I'd like you to get to a place where you can see the monitors and take a look at this short video. Please roll it.
What does a defining moment look like? That tipping point between looking back and moving forward, between celebrating the past and boldly defining the future. At the United States Air Force Academy, defining moments have taken many forms. In 1959, the Academy commissioned its first second lieutenants. In 1976, female cadets were first admitted. And in 2020, the first graduates were commissioned into the U.S. Space Force. The Academy now arrives at another defining moment, and its mission has never been more important. As the Air Force Academy looks to the future, it is faced with an increasingly complicated, interconnected world, one marked by unprecedented advancements in technology and shifts in culture. And it stands ready to provide tomorrow's leaders with the intellectual capacity, strength, and resiliency required to confront the challenges of our time. To help them prepare for these challenges, the Air Force Academy Foundation and the Association of Graduates together are undertaking the most significant comprehensive fundraising and engagement campaign in the Academy's history. This bold vision is our defining moment for the Academy. New partnerships will spur academic innovation in the classroom and attract nationally recognized scholars. Advancements in human performance and world-class facilities will push cadet athletes toward greater moral and physical development. An enhanced focus on interpersonal leadership and the future of the profession of arms will accelerate individual cadet growth. More opportunities for alumni engagement will help invigorate and fortify the long blue line as it strengthens its connection to the Academy. Private support will help achieve these goals, offering each cadet the richest academic, military, and athletic experience that readies them for leadership. With your help, we are defining the future for the next generations of the long blue line, the future airmen and guardians, pilots, astronauts, and doctors, CEOs and entrepreneurs, lawyers and teachers, inventors and investors, ministers, public servants, and coaches. Leaders. Join us.
And we hope you all will join us to support our Academy with this bold vision set out by our senior leaders. Part of that vision is the Institute for Future Conflict, or the IFC, as you'll hear it referred to. And we are really fortunate tonight to have the director of the IFC with us, Lieutenant General B.J. Schwedo. Now, when history is written, I'm confident that General Rich Clark's best hire ever will be the B.J. Schwedo for the work he's doing. He's been fighting the cyber battles for our Air Force for many years, commanded numbered Air Force, came to us from the Joint Staff where he was the J6. And it's a real win for our Air Force Academy to have Lieutenant General B.J. Schwedo, class of '87, to join us here tonight. Come on up, please, B.J.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for the honor, for this opportunity. And I am sure that you are asking lots of questions right now, like, what is going on in my Air Force? And what I mean by that is, in the past, we've always heard fly, fight, or win. Nobody even comes close. And now all of a sudden, our Chief of Staff says, accelerate, change, or lose. What has happened? Well, quite frankly, what has happened is you're seeing about 20 to 30 years of a global war on terrorism that has totally taken our focus off great power competition. And what I mean by that is you have been battling for finite resources within our military, and every time we tried to make a procurement associated with great power competition, the answer back would be, we've got bills to pay associated with the global war on terrorism. So unfortunately, we have a large problem of trying to get up and shift from what we were to what we need to be in the future. And this is actually a bipartisan initiative. Trump in 2018 put out his national defense strategy, and he specifically said, stop the endless war, stop the global war on terrorism, and get ready for great power competition. Biden in March, President Biden in March put out his interim strategic guidance, which specifically says a lot of the same things, and just the nuances of the differences is he doesn't call it great power competition, he calls it strategic competition. But very much it is the same thing. So what's been happening, and why are we so alarmed that we say accelerate, change, or lose? Desert Storm was a significant emotional event for both the Russians and the Chinese. What they did was watched the United States take down the Iraqi forces, which were similarly organized, trained, and equipped as Russia and China, and they fell in a matter of days. And they rapidly found out they were ill-prepared for the future. So they actually kicked off a dual strategy, one that was looking for asymmetrical attack accesses because they knew they couldn't come to parity with us immediately. And then they also made investments in symmetrical challenges, which now, after 30, 40 years, you're starting to see all of those investments come back, and they're getting closer and closer in parity. So what are we going to do about it? First of all, we have got to get after and change the whole culture of global war on terrorism towards this piece, and it's not just the cadets. If you superimpose a 20 to 30-year time frame over the faculty at the United States Air Force Academy, you'll rapidly find that they did everything that we asked them to do, but they're ill-suited for that long. So it's not just the cadets, it's larger. As a matter of fact, I was giving a briefing to Fort Carson ALOs recently on Wednesday, because it is a much bigger problem than just cadets, etc. So we are answering the call from the Chief of Staff of the Air Force to accelerate, change, or lose. So I'll give you a couple examples of the disparity of how cadets are getting kicked out the door now and how I got kicked out the door a long time ago. So a lot of people would sit there and go, BJ, this is no different than after Vietnam. No, it is significantly different than Vietnam, because although we were fighting a war there, we always believed the great World War III was going to be the Fulda Gap in Germany, and USAFE was the show, and we were pouring lots of money at great power competition. We're not doing that anymore. When I left the United States Air Force Academy and went to Desert Shield, I knew what the Iraqis were going to do because, as I said before, they were similarly organized, trained, and equipped as the Russians. So every time they did something, I was an intelligence officer during there, I would go, nope, they're doing this, this, and this. More importantly, as soon as I got to Desert Shield, they said, turn the lights out in Baghdad. Makes all the sense in the world, because when you turn the lights out in Baghdad, military units will be affected in modern societies when you take electricity away. And I was pretty sure that all my classmates and those who had gone before me would deliver on that promise and turn the lights out in Baghdad. And if you remember, that's exactly what we did. We did it in Belgrade and Pristina too. So now, superimpose what the cadets are going out the door on. I believed that if they were going to come to do that to me, I had lots of friends in F-22s and F-35s that would deny them the capability to come over the horizon and turn the lights out in New York City. Well, not so much anymore. Don't believe me. The Secretary of the Energy, Jennifer Granholm, admitted that our electrical power grids are they are vulnerable to cyber attack. So what they've done through that asymmetrical attack access is circumvented all those F-15s and F-16s. All of us did a lot of studies associated with Palesti. If you remember, lots of airmen died to try and deny the Germans oil and gas. Well, if you remember the Colonial Pipeline, they suffered no losses, and they probably would have been able to turn off that pipeline more effective than we did in Palesti. The last part is when you start talking about logistic warfare, during Desert Storm, we moved the equivalent of Oklahoma City in bombs, bullets, and beans. And what the world saw was, if you allow the United States to do that and build up their forces, your only recourse is to win the toss and elect to receive. And they will not let us do that again. And there's lots of magazine articles on how ransomware and all of these things can get after us. So what are we dumping the cadets in? Well, believe it or not, the people that are in charge of our power and electrical grid is the Department of Energy. That's who defends that. I would have said Cyber Command. The people that are in charge of pipelines is the TSA, the people that go through your luggage. And their manpower fluctuates between 1 and 14 people. And then those individual commercial agencies that would help us in our logistics fight, it's individual IT shops. So that one example is what we're working with the cadets. So you can unleash cadets on things that an individual professor thinks is important, or like my phone call with another graduate, Chris Inglis, who is the National Cyber Advisor for the President. And he goes, I'd like to get some cadets involved in all of this. And I said, perfect. Give me an IPL, an Integrated Priorities List, and a POC, and we're going to start unleashing cadets on these things. Why do I have full faith in that? Because when I was at Cyber Command and owned the checkbook, I sent money to the United States Air Force Academy, and I got back a patented chip. These cadets are very, very smart, and unlike all of us, I was very frustrated when I commanded some of these NSA sites and I had airmen on the other side of the fence because we couldn't get their clearances. We're starting their clearances earlier and earlier, and if you come see me in the IFC, right outside my door I have a SCIF, which is a sensitive compartmented information facility where you can work on TSSCI. We have cadets, top secret, sensitive compartmented information. I have acronyms. That's kind of one of the highest levels of classification for intelligence, and the bottom line is we have cadets with those clearances. So now we're going to have professors that will be able to pick and choose, and this is not something that is new. CyberWorks have been doing some of these things. When I was in Washington, D.C., I met with Lieutenant General Groen. He's a Marine Corps. He's the director of the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center. That is another place where when Dr. Paul Kaminsky came up with this big idea, which is why I'm here, he was very concerned about AI, and immediately we started unleashing conversations with General Groen and others, and he was like, absolutely, I want your guys involved. And then he goes, most importantly, I want your graduates so I can plug that second lieutenant that's been playing in this game long before he ever showed up, and it'll probably be the first time a second lieutenant will show up someplace immediately with all kinds of WASTA associated with his knowledge and his previous experience. So as we go forward, there is lots to do. I'll give you a heads up on our Corona piece, the last part. During these 20 to 30 years that we haven't been playing big power competition, you'll find that our warfares have grown up in cylinders of excellence. We'll send one Predator or one Reaper to one bad guy, kill him, and head back to the ranch. If we tried to send a Predator or Reaper to Beijing or Moscow, you'd never see it again. So the integrated air defenses that we see the bad guys have, we're going to have to, because they have multi-sensors, multi-capabilities to execute their mission, we're going to have to come up with a synergistic cocktail, affectionately known in Nellis as a guerrilla package. And we're having the Corona folks show up. And if you haven't seen Cybertown, it's going to kick off with a cyber person. So Cybertown is one of, I think, 2 in the United States where it looks like somebody's very expensive train set, but it's hooked to multi-million dollars worth of industrial control systems and SCADA. And you'll see a cadet hack in, she'll push enter, and that radar will stop. And then that is one portion of the integrated air defense network we don't have to worry about. UAVs will be another portion of the attack. Jamming will be another portion of the attack. And if you get to the multi-domain lab, you'll see numerous cockpits for F-22s, F-35s, Preds, Reapers, etc. And we're going to have that guerrilla package going forward and go get ready for this great power competition that we look forward to. But there's multiple lines of operation right now. I'll call out one piece. General Speedy Martin. I definitely don't call him Speedy because he's got one more star than I'll ever say. But he is working with General Rocky and others to review all of our curriculum to make sure that we're moving forward towards that great power competition. But I know I've only got a couple minutes. I'll answer any of your questions, but what I want to let you know is we're kind of trying to attack this problem on all fronts because it is a large problem and we've got to get after it, because I want to make sure that cadets that leave here are as prepared as I was when I left for Desert Shield and Desert Storm. So if you have any questions, please. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It very much interacts. So I got pulled into those conversations too. So my previous cyber background, but what we're doing is making sure, and we're talking about potentially getting a hub for the IO range, the Information Operations Range, where when I was commanding all the attack units for the Air Force, we would use the cyber range to prep our attacks to make sure everything worked, and then on game day it looked exactly like what we're doing. My intention is not just CyberWorks, but across the board. Like I said, this is multiple fronts. Had conversations with the folks in the biology department because that is another avenue of attack. Does anybody do 23andMe to find out? 23andMe is subsidized by the Chinese. And the bottom line is we're at a point where just in ones and zeros, we're getting to the molecular level that you can change a 1 to a 0 that will destroy whatever that sickness you have. It's a wonderful thing. The flip side is there is some documentation that they're also looking at a bug that they would make that would make all of us sick and anybody of Chinese origin okay. What an effective tool if you want to take some place like Taiwan, where you want all the infrastructure associated with the chip manufacturing and everything else. Just get rid of the people, and I get all of those pieces without destroying the infrastructure, etc. So very much that's a line of operations. Yes, sir.
How are you tied into other organizations that do similar work throughout the military?
Yes, sir.
What's the joint force
that's a great
doing in this?
No, that's a great question. So a couple things. So the first piece is my first 2 phone calls when I took this job was to the Vice Chief of the Air Force, Dave Alvin, class of 86, and the Vice Chief of the Space Force, D.T. Thompson, who's class of 85. And I said, who do you want me to talk to make sure, because I don't want cadets chasing, projects that are not worthwhile. And both of them gave me their points of contact. So if you read the newspapers, Lieutenant General Clint Hinote, who is the A5, the futures guy, we talked on the phone and he immediately said, you just bought yourself 3 meetings a week with the Pentagon. So I Zoom with the Pentagon in these meetings, and they have no problems with it. But we stay, as a matter of fact, I knew what they were going to talk about at AFA before. This week has been AFA. I know what they're going to talk about in Corona next month because they're prepping all of their slides. But the most important thing is to make sure we're in sync with them. Similar situation with like the CIO, the Chief Information Officer for the Air Force. And as I said, the JAIC commander, which is the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center, there was concerns that we had lots of different investments in artificial intelligence, but because there was no synergy to it, we were relearning all of the lessons. So Congress rolled in and said, JAIC will be the place for AI. Lucky for me, General Groen was the 2 when I was the 6, so we're already friends, and he was like, you bet, whatever. Joint All-Domain Command and Control. Believe it or not, we can't talk to other people on the battlefield because we've been fighting ISIS and Al-Qaeda for 20, 30 years. And quite frankly, 2 tin cans and a string will work fine. Well, when you go against Russia or China in an electronic warfare environment, an information-denied environment, we're going to have a lot of problems. So when you read the newspapers about JADC2, Joint All-Domain Command and Control, that is the joint program that we're launching into, and once again, we're going to get cadets involved in that. That was under my purview in my last job. So we know a lot of all of the same players and just plugging and playing as much as we can. And then last part is, the curriculum view, the other places. I've been really, really impressed with all the department heads and how much they want to help. Before I got to Colorado Springs, they were like, they're not going to be interested. That has not been my impression. They've really done everything they can to facilitate and help the IFC out since I've been here, and I'm very appreciative. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. How hard are you working to recruit freshman cadets who already have experience in these things, like kids who have participated in Cyber Patriot or First Robotics or Bex Robotics?
No, so what has been really neat is I have received lots of emails from people that are hearing about the IFC and going, hey, I really want to get involved in that. I'll go one step further. I want to get the really good high school student that we're fighting with MIT or Harvard or whatever. So when you see things like the multi-domain lab, when you see some of these things and you go, hey, if you come here, you're going to be working on real world, the IPL, Integrated Priorities List, of these combatant commanders that we may use your stuff on the battlefield fairly quickly. Or you can go play at that other university. So I agree. I want to make sure that I get the freshmen that have that talent and roll them in. What I'm finding is they're finding me faster than I'm finding them, which is encouraging. I really want to go after those high schoolers. And that's why I love the multi-domain lab. If you haven't seen that yet, I've already talked to the director of athletics going, my first assignment was coach football at USAFA. I was like, this would be a stop everywhere you're going, because the guy that is running the multi-domain lab, the reason why they made it was one cadet said, I thought USAFA would be the Hogwarts for air power. I haven't seen that. I'll tell you, you go in the multi-domain lab, you're going to have lots of wizards and sorceresses running out the door on the other end. I'm really excited about it. Okay. Anything else? Well, once again, I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and look forward to any questions you may have in the future. There's not that many Schwedos in the global. You can find me fairly quickly. So thanks again. Appreciate it.
General Schwedo, thank you so much. You all remember, the graduates at least, Duhay's quote about victory shines upon those who anticipate the changes in the character of war, not upon those who wait for the changes to occur and then adapt. I think with General Schwedo's leadership right here, and with some of these brilliant cadets that you asked about, ma'am, we're in a pretty darn good position right now for that. And let me just tell you a little bit more about this campaign. Through the Defining Our Future campaign, we're going to raise $270 million or more in support of the Academy's most critical strategic priorities. And we're already almost 2/3 of the way there, thanks to the donations and the generosity of many of you who are here in Doolittle with us tonight. And we also, through this campaign, aim to get more engagement from more graduates. We want to increase awareness and participation among Academy graduates all across the country to enhance institutional pride in the Academy and to help tell the story about philanthropy's impact on our Academy. And as a key first step to this, we announced 2 weeks ago at an event back in Washington, we are expanding membership in the Association of Graduates to everyone who graduates at no cost. Hat goes in the air and they're automatically a member of this association. And through that, we hope to gain so much more in the way of engagement, which will eventually grow into other ways to help our Academy. So we invite all of you to continue to partner with us to help advance and define the future of this Academy as we go through this historic campaign. We need your engagement, we need your ideas, your participation, and that I ask that you please help us spread the word to others you come into contact with all about the exciting things that are happening at our Academy, to include the great work that General Schwedo and his team are doing at the IFC. So thank you for being here tonight to learn a little bit more. Thank you for your support over time. And we're excited about this campaign, and I know it's going to be a huge success. Now, one administrative note, for those of you who have registered for the tour of the observatory, The shuttle is going to depart out here at 6:05, so in another 20 minutes or so. The size of the observatory is, it will limit the number who can get in at any one time to about 20 people, but they're prepared to cycle people in and out. And then finally, I hope you can join us for the football game tomorrow against Florida Atlantic. We'd like you all to please stop by the Association of Graduates and Foundation tailgate, which is just east of the stadium in Falcon Alley right there. So look us up and come and say hi and share a beverage, and let's help the Falcons have a big win tomorrow. God bless you all, and thank you for your support.